Happy Monday, everybody. Avatar Jim is on vacation, and I'm here today with, of course, Sean Miller and Amadeus. Guys, long weekend, but some interesting and fun stuff went on this past weekend. I know that we did a marathon, 4 hours with the Ohio State game against Georgia. It's the longest I've been on the air without raising money for children. It was a long night, but it was fun. And yesterday, a lot of crazy going on in the National Football League. Amadeus and I were talking, Sean, prior to the show starting, about Ron Rivera of the Commanders not knowing that he could be eliminated for the playoffs, in the 4 o'clock game. So there was a lot of unknowns, even to the coaches, on this past weekend.
Yeah, it's a bit of a joke. You got to know the situation you're in. I think Ron Rivera is a great coach too. I don't know how he didn't know that. And he has an easy out. All you got to say in that situation is, we come to every game with the mindset like we have to win it, but didn't say that. And instead he just, made himself look stupid with not knowing that your team is going to get eliminated in the afternoon.
Well, that would be good to know. Not just saying. It's crazy. And as I was talking to, again, Amadeus before the show, if I'm the Buccaneers, I'm going to put on the scoreboard before you start, fourth quarter, and whoever they're playing, 10 points. So you're down 10 points, you're in the fourth quarter, go. It's just nuts how they have played. They have the best record of anybody in the fourth quarter. That's nuts. The rest of the time, they're doing nothing. One other quick, totally interesting but not germane note from yesterday. 4 teams went into yesterday's games without allowing a 100-yard rusher. Okay? Of those 4 teams, only the 49ers continue to be the team with not allowing 100. The others were the Ravens, and Najee got his 100. You had the Chargers, and they gave up 100 yards. And the other one was, I'm trying to think of it real quick. Green Bay, and they gave up 100. Only the 49ers are standing with one more week to go in that regard. So there you have it, boys and girls. Here's a quick look at the scenarios. Let's take a look at the AFC scenario for number 1 seed, home field advantage. We got that game tonight between the Bills and the Bengals. We'll get to that later. So as you can see, the Bills can clinch with a win at the Bengals, which is tonight. And a win with the Patriots. That shouldn't be Patriots Chiefs. A win versus the Chiefs clinches the win at the Raiders, and that makes no sense. What the heck is it? All right, so basically, the number 1 seed goes to the winner tonight of the Bills and the Bengals situation, and the Chiefs they'd have to lose for the Chiefs to get in at the number 1 seed. So there's that. Wait a minute. There's more. There we go. The Bengals can clinch with a win versus the Bills tonight. The Ravens and the Chiefs lose. And there you go. So there's that scenario. There's a scenario with the AFC South. We talked about that. Jaguars can clinch with a win or a tie versus Titans. The Titans can clinch with one of the Jaguars, so that's how they get it. And the Bengals clinch with a win or a tie versus the Bills, or a win versus the Ravens. And now finally, that number 7 slot, this is a mess. The Patriots clinch with a win at the Bills, or Dolphins lost to the Jets, and Steelers lost to the Browns. Dolphins, they can clinch with a win against the Jets, but they need the Patriots to lose to the Bills and the Steelers to lose. So that's how that works out. Number 1 seed in the NFC. That was a flash look at it. Let's try it again. This time I actually hit the thing. All right, home field advantage. Eagles clinch with a win versus the Giants, where 49ers lost to the Cardinals. And the Cowboys lost to the Commanders. 49ers can clinch with a win versus the Cardinals, and the Eagles lost to the Giants. And NFC East title can go to the Eagles with a win versus the Giants, or the Cowboys lost to the Commanders. Cowboys can clinch with a win over the Commanders, and the Eagles lost to the Giants. And finally, the 7 seed in the NFC. The Packers control their own destiny. They win against the Lions. They get in. Seahawks, they have to win against the Rams and the Packers. If the Lions beat the Packers, then the Lions are in the mix. But anyway, so there you go. For all those wondering what the heck is going on, that's what the heck is going on in the NFC and the AFC. So, guys, what did you see over the weekend that in the NFL that excited you, if anything?
Yeah, just coming down to the Week 18 games. The Eagles might be blowing it here. The Eagles are going to get lucky, I think, because the Giants don't really need the game. I mean, they're basically locked into the 6th seed now because nobody can catch them because of that tie. So, and they can't move up to the 5 because the Cowboys have 12 wins. So, if I don't know, the Giants, I don't know who's going to play. So the Eagles might get lucky because if the Eagles blow that division and the top seed, they're not doing anything in the playoffs. I don't think that no one's beating the 49ers. I don't think at this point 49ers are going to, they would be my favorite to go from the NFC. The AFC is still wide open. And we'll kind of see what goes on with that. But 49ers basically pulled even with the Eagles now to win the NFC. To be honest, it doesn't really matter for the Eagles. If Hurts isn't healthy, they're not winning anything anyway, so it doesn't matter.
We got interesting thing with, I know, the Packers went in, and played and just, manhandled Minnesota. But I still think that game against the Lions is going to be tough. I think the Lions, they got nothing to lose. They could get into playoffs if they win and a bunch of things happen. But I think the Lions going to Green Bay next Sunday is going to be an interesting game, to say the least.
Yeah, the Lions and the Packers are both teams that have been getting hot down the final stretch here as we approach the playoffs. Either really has a chance, but I think probably Green Bay will take it because we saw yesterday they just absolutely destroyed Minnesota. Minnesota is one of those teams that even though they're a northern team, they play in a dome, not exposed to the elements. And same with this Detroit team, northern team plays in a dome. So now they're going to have to go out in the cold into the elements of Lambeau Field. And obviously, it was a factor for the Vikings. This is where the Packers excel, except in the playoffs. They seem to never win at home in the playoffs, but they're going to be a wild card this year. So maybe that's better for them. Don't have to play in the -40 at home, but they're definitely in the regular season. They dominate there. So I would have to say, Green Bay, they've won 5, 6 in a row now. I think it's theirs to lose.
There you go. Aaron Rodgers may have the last laugh on everybody, which is a bit vexing, but nevertheless, it is what it is.
They were talking about Jordan Love weeks ago, and he was like, "No, as long as we're mathematically in it, I'm going to play."
Yeah, no, we're good.
Everybody laughed at him, but sure enough, here we are last week,
last laugh.
and they control their destiny. It's crazy. But it just
The
goes to show you
Dolphins,
how the
yeah.
league has been this year.
Well, look at the Dolphins. I mean, they're down to their third string quarterback, and that's a tough situation.
Yeah, and it looks like Skylar Thompson's going to start next week too.
At the moment, yeah, it's penciled in. So there's that problem. I was going to say that one last thing about the NFC, AFC situation. It's to me, the parity in these two leagues is crazy. I mean, there's this many teams still alive. That either shows you that the league has gotten better or worse. I'm not sure which one of the two. I think you'll make your own determination. But this is almost like hockey. It looks like everybody's still in it until the last week of the season, and maybe that is a good thing. I don't know. It certainly is a good thing for the fans in some places. I really was. Did you guys in the game last night between the Steelers and the Ravens? Something happened that it just blew me away, and that was the Steelers in their first possession took 8 minutes off the clock, got a field goal. The Ravens in their first possession took 7 minutes off the clock, got a field goal. Okay. The entire first half of that game was played in less than an hour because both teams ran the whole time. And as a matter of fact, the game itself was the shortest Sunday night game thus far this season. Again, both teams ran. There was some passing, but for the most part, they ran and they played defense, and that was a crazy one. And this last 29 games between the Steelers and the Ravens, 26 of the 29 games have been decided by one score, be it a field goal or a touchdown. So, jot that down, folks. You may need that for your betting purposes later down the line.
Yeah, it's always a low-scoring game too.
Yeah, it was. Two defensive-minded teams.
Yeah,
we have, because it still is a holiday somewhere. We have two bowl games today. USC versus Tulane in the Cotton Bowl in Jerry World. Tulane is scary. I mean, they've got some talented kids on that team. SC, we still don't know 100% whether or not Caleb Williams is playing. Not because he's declared for the draft, but because he's got an injury. If he doesn't play, that's going to really put SC in trouble. So we'll see how that works out. That's the early game. Any thoughts, guys, on that one? You're going to let it go? Or would you bet it?
I mean, if Williams plays, I think they win. If he doesn't, probably not. I think it's probably just that easy at this point. Hopefully he plays. Mm-hmm. I think I took USC here, so hopefully he plays. But yeah, it's interesting. The game before that, Mississippi State, Illinois, I think is pretty interesting down at Raymond James. But USC, Tulane's had a good year. So, but yeah, if Williams plays, I think USC wins.
Meanwhile, out west, it's the Rose Bowl. It's Utah. It's Penn State. These are mirror images of each other. These two teams, with the exception of one thing: Cam Rising, the quarterback of Utah. I would give the edge of that game to Utah if Cam Rising plays like Cam Rising can play. If he doesn't, then Penn State. Now, Penn State's missing two very important guys. One that was an edge rushing linebacker that was number 2 in the team in sacks, and they're missing a corner. Utah's missing a tight end, which was one of their top receivers, and one defensive back. So these teams come in with a few missing parts, but still good enough to put together a nice game. This could be a high-scoring game if Cam Rising is on his game at Penn State. Penn State's only losses this year were to Ohio State and Michigan, so not a bad season for the Nittany Lions. Should be a good game. Any thoughts?
I think Utah. I just think Utah's had a better year. The missing Penn State could be pivotal there, and then the LSU Purdue game as well. I think that's LSU should really just annihilate Purdue in that game.
Yeah, it
And
doesn't
the
look
line
like.
is 14.5. So yeah, I can't imagine that game's going to be close.
All right, so now, boys and girls, it's we turn our attention to soccer, and everybody seems to be back and ready to rock and roll. What do you see today on the roster, boys, that piques your interest?
The Celtic Rangers is playing now. Rangers up 2-1 here late in the game. Always an interesting game.
It's actually 2-2.
Is it?
Celtic just scored. I have it on the sports book, so they adjust right away, right?
They would, yeah.
You're ahead of my game here. I'm streaming it. Yeah, I got it.
Well, I'm not watching, right? I said I'm looking at the sportsbook feed. Like, if you were to go bet it, they already know it's tied. So, sorry to spoil it.
Oh yeah, it was a dodgy goal too, like super dodgy.
I think they'll take it though. I don't think.
Yeah. Kyogo. The Japanese kids they have there are pretty good, man. They got a pretty good roster of those players. But there's one Premier League game. The scores from the week. Let me pull up the window here.
I'm absolutely done with Tottenham. They are in so much trouble.
Yeah, they're done. Aston Villa there, huge win yesterday, 2-0. Nottingham Forest held Chelsea. You look at the table here, and all of a sudden, Arsenal has a 7-point lead over Manchester City. Newcastle United's played one more game than Manchester United, and Manchester United is only 2 points behind. So if Manchester United wins their game in hand, I believe it's against Leeds, they would be ahead of Newcastle. Tottenham is going to fall down the table. If today is Brentford and Liverpool. And now I think if you had to ask me what the end of the table is, I think Arsenal, Manchester City, Manchester United, and Liverpool are probably the four teams. I think Newcastle. I think Newcastle could finish in the top four, but I think now it's going to be a fight between Newcastle, United, and Liverpool for a fourth spot. I think United has turned the corner at this point. They have a chance here to get up to third with a win tomorrow. I think this, Brentford Liverpool today is very interesting. Tomorrow, Arsenal Newcastle is the game, is a massive game all of a sudden. That's Arsenal's favored there, minus 129 against Newcastle. I didn't know, that's an interesting line to me. Everton plays Brighton. Everton's in a lot of trouble. I think Chelsea's in trouble. They stink. But today is, I don't know, if you look at this Brentford Liverpool game, Brentford's actually played pretty well since the break. Amadeus, what do you think? Do you like this game today?
I don't like it because I don't really know how to bet it, in the sense where these Liverpool, like, I would like the over in this game, but these totals, man, with Liverpool, it's always like minus 200 for the over 2.5, and I don't want a 3, but I gotta say, you'd think after watching yesterday's result with Tottenham, this is a huge match for Liverpool because they're 2 points behind Tottenham, but with this game in hand. So if they win today, they jump Tottenham, and now all of a sudden Liverpool finds themselves in 5th place in a European competition spot, and they can obviously, keep climbing the table from there. So this game becomes huge for them. But, as I've said all year, I personally don't think this Liverpool team is very good. They're not at home here, which means they're not going to be getting any special treatment. And as you said, Brentford has been playing very well in their last few matches. They're at home here. They're scoring goals too. I think they've scored 2 goals in each of their 2 matches coming back from the break so far. And yeah, you know, I would lean to maybe taking Brentford plus the 1 here. Because, you know, if they lose, I don't see it being by more than 1. I think you at least get the push. But there's a chance they come away with the draw here. They've been playing very well. So it's an interesting one for sure. It's going to be one more to watch for me.
Yeah, and you know, I don't know if you watched the game yesterday, the PSG
3-1 Lons.
Yeah, Lons is very good.
Undefeated at home. It's crazy.
9-0 at home. PSG, obviously, the announcers were making a big deal about it. They didn't play with, no Neymar, no Messi. I feel like that, that those 2 guys maybe might change the game a little bit, but
Ekitike and Soler just doesn't quite push the needle.
Yeah, it's crazy. Montpellier plays Marseille today. Lille plays Reims, and Rennes plays Nice. When you look at the table for League, Lens now 4 points back. Marseille into that 3rd Champions League playoff spot there, just ahead of Monaco, who won yesterday. Monaco's playing well again. Rennes is right there. Nice hasn't been playing well. Montpellier is struggling a little bit, so there's, I think, maybe a little chance to make a little money here with some of these French games today. Marseille here -148 played really well last week, and Rennes at -109 at home. So I don't know if you've looked at any of the French league matches today.
Yeah, Marseille, I forget who it was they played last week, but they won 6-1. I was on them that day. They absolute smacked Toulouse. That's right. One of the worst teams, one of those newly promoted sides in Liga this year.
Yeah, but I love the name. It's like Toulouse-Lautrec.
Yeah. I look at it more like Toulouse is going to lose, but that's
if you want to lose, that's what's going to happen.
Exactly, right? Like literally, they're one of the worst road teams in France too. They've been in Ligue 2 for the last few years, just coming up now.
They are down. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
These are the last games in France till January 11th today. So there's nothing on the weekend. I believe it's a League Cup. Let me take a look. I believe I know it's an FA Cup weekend. Serie A is back. I think I don't know why France is off.
Maybe like Coupe de France or something like that.
No, there's no cup matches either. So
they're just taking their week of laziness and
everybody's going.
Yeah, maybe they came back. They came back early and got back. So there's no matches. So maybe they're just taking a little break there, their winter break. So they play Monday, and then you got a nice little not even a 10-day break, but I think that's next. I know next year the Premier League that's coming back. The little 1-week break there, but so I think these games today are pretty big. Obviously Marseille. There's not a lot of games today when you look. There's the 3. One of them's going on now. Troy beating Strasbourg. There's some pretty big games in the championship. We'll look at the table here in the championship. Burnley is only 2 losses here. Burnley and Sheffield United are starting to open up a little gap, and we're not. It's not talking about it. They've played 25 matches already. Which is crazy because the Premier League's only played 16 or 17, so they're basically 8 match weeks ahead. It's interesting. Look at these lines today because there's a bunch of games, and once again, this is the last day of championship games until January 14th because of the FA Cup, and these teams most of these teams will be playing. I don't know if you like any of these games today.
The championship games, I haven't really.
Tough to call.
Yeah, I'm not quite ready to get into the championship. I know we're like halfway through the season now, but still, so much can happen. It looks like Norwich and Watford aren't going to do the old up and down though.
Yeah, Norwich just fired their manager, and it's interesting because Burnley today. I mean, when you look at this table, Burnley's got a plus 26 goal difference, 53 points. They've only lost twice. Facing Swansea City, who is okay
Swansea
at home.
Swansea City's the worst team, right?
Yeah, they're from Wales. Yeah, Burnley's. They basically have the same exact record at home and on the road, and you can get Burnley, who's clearly the best team in the league, at basically plus 150 today. That's probably a decent play. Foxy's not on. I think Foxy's probably got to play on some of these draws here.
The old draw parlay.
Yeah.
Let me ask you guys something. You would, in a situation like this, is this one of those leagues where it pays to keep up on it because you can win money in it?
Oh yeah, no, I think it is. It's tough though. I mean, it's the toughest league in the world because of what's at stake. I mean, the top two teams automatically go up to the Premier League, and when you look here, Blackburn's played one more match than them. So if Sheffield United and Burnley win their games in hand, they're 56, they're 14 points and 11 points ahead. Which is a huge gap. It usually isn't like that with 20 matches to go. But I mean, if you win this league and you finish top two, you're back in the Premier League. It's the richest league in the world. So these games are, you see here,
worth hundreds of millions of dollars.
Blackburn has no draws, 14 wins, 12 losses, that's actually a absolutely mind-boggling stat. But you see these, to see here, 8 draws, 9 draws, 8 draws, 7 draws. I mean, it's such a competitive league. I mean, the teams, a lot of times you'll see this from West Brom 9, 8, and 8, but the teams that turn some of these draws into wins are the teams that go up. But yeah, the games are competitive. I mean, they're tough to call a lot of times. But, you can do well. I mean, because the lines, you're going to make pretty good value on them, but it's hard to pick them. I feel like it's a little easier to pick the Premier League games sometimes than it is to pick some of the lower league games.
And we've talked about the Premier League from a wagering standpoint, guys. What's the next best? You go Premier League is top of the shelf. What would be number 2? Would it be France? Would it be Italy? Would it be Spain? Or does it change?
I would say Champions League probably.
Yeah, okay. Champions League.
Yeah, a lot of money comes in on Champions League because you got the best clubs, basically the top clubs from each of those leagues. Plus, obviously you get your Scotland's in there, your Czech Republics, the top teams from those leagues. Mainly, you only see them in the group stage, but every now and then, you get a Club Bruges that slips by, FC Porto slips on into the next round. So, yeah, I would put Champions League at number 2, and then France. They don't even consider it like like I know it's part of the 5 big, but they don't even consider it like a top league in Europe anymore, just because of the quality of play in France. But if you ask Sean, he says he loves the French league because there's always goals. It's way more exciting than watching the Bundesliga.
Germany's got goals, but I love you watch the French league games. It's got a lot of the West African players, and the games are really exciting. Obviously, since I used to coach a bunch of West African kids, so I try to watch that. But to me, I think those games are a little more exciting than the Italian games because some of those Italian games are low scoring. But I do. When you look on like live score, it's England, and then Spain, and then Italy, and then France. Or Germany's in there somewhere. So that's basically the order it goes in. But the Premier League is the premier, obviously, no pun intended. But probably Spain is second. But the Spanish league is weird sometimes. You look at the table right now. Barcelona, Real Madrid. I still think Barcelona is going to fall apart. They're broke at this point. They need to sell players. Real Madrid's clearly a better team, but Real Madrid has so many of those extra games to play. Then you got, Sociedad, Atletico Madrid, Atletico Bilbao, Real Betis, those teams. Atletico Madrid at some point, if they don't make it into this top four, they'll fall apart. They're always teetering on the edge. But those games, Sociedad is in third place right now. They've scored 21 goals in 15 matches. They're 9-2-4. They have a +4 goal difference, and they're in third place. To me, you look at the La Liga. I mean, the only team outside of Barcelona and Real Madrid that has a double-digit goal difference is Bilbao. They're in fifth with +10, but seventh place, 17 goals, 11 allowed. That means every game is either 1-0 or 1-1 or 0-0. So, it's not super exciting to me. I think when you look at the, when you look at the French table, goal difference here, the top 5 teams all have double-digit goal difference, but more than that, the 8th place team, Lyon, has scored 27 goals in 17 games, allowed 21. So now every 2-1, 1-1. The Clermont Foot, 20 goals scored, 25 allowed. I mean, these teams are scoring double-digit. The teams that don't have 20 goals are all in the bottom half of the table. So there's more goals in the French league, which to me, I don't know. It seems, to me, I want goals. So, and when you look at Germany, it's that league is, Bayern Munich has a +36 goal difference. No other team has more than +9. So there's only 8 teams in the whole league with a positive goal difference, and no team has a goal difference of more than 9. So only one team has that. So Bayern Munich's drawing some games, but it's crazy. I mean, that league is a joke. I like to see Freiburg, and that they're cool, and some of these new teams, but I mean, the league is embarrassing. Who's going to win it. So at least in the Premier League, there's been drama. I mean, City's won the title for the last 5 years, but two of the titles came last year, came down to the last 15 minutes. They beat Liverpool by 1 point in 2019, and then Liverpool ended up winning the Champions League. This league is usually competitive. The race for top 4 is competitive. So I don't know. I think there's a huge drop off. People in England always say that the number 1 league in the world is the Premier League, and the number 2 league in the world is the Championship, because those games are crazy, and then everything else is kind of falls in. Obviously, Champions League is different, but I don't know. Hey, they're tough to bet too. I mean, Amadeus will tell you those Italian games are tough. You try to bet. You try to bet Borussia Dortmund in Germany, and you're basically flipping a coin whether you're going to win 5-0 or lose 5-0. I mean, you don't even. It's crazy.
I'll never forget. I had Dortmund -1.5 earlier in the season in a game. They were up 2-0 in the 88th minute, and I was sitting there laughing, thinking I'm going to cash my play, and then Werder Bremen scored 3 goals in stoppage time to win the game 3-2. So. That's it's bad defense, I think, in the Bundesliga. But the other issue, I think, is these smaller teams never get a chance to grow. As soon as they have a good young player, it's like the bigger clubs come sniffing and buy them out. Like you look at Dortmund a few years ago, spent all that money to get Haaland from Salzburg, and then it didn't work out after like a few 2 seasons or so, and now they sell him to Man City, where he's absolutely lighting it up with 21 Premier League goals this year. Then we just had the World Cup. So now, again, Dortmund's going to get fleeced. You got Jude Bellingham, who's probably going to go to Real Madrid, or, it's going to go somewhere, that's for sure. So Dortmund's going to fall apart.
In this window. He could go in this window. They're not even going to wait. If Real Madrid says, we'll give you $100 million for him now. We want him now. So their whole season's going to fall apart.
Yeah, and then another team, Eintracht Frankfurt. They're not great, but they always seem to be in the mix. They're in Europa League. They're in Champions League. They were in Europa League last year. They're in Champions League this year. I don't know if they advanced. I forget if they advanced or not. But
they're advanced. They're around 16.
So they advanced, and now like nobody talks about them because it's just Eintracht Frankfurt. They'll get knocked out eventually. But sure enough, we see that kid Kolo Muani, a few flashes of talent from him for France in the World Cup, and now you got 3 Premier Leagues knocking on the door for Kolo Muani in this transfer window. So you don't even give these smaller German teams a chance to grow.
Marcus Thuram from Borussia Mönchengladbach. Here's another.
It's another one.
He's
one of my favorite names, Borussia Mönchengladbach.
Yeah, he wants to go to Manchester United. So here's the deal. His contract's up. So he can sign a pre-contract. So now Borussia Mönchengladbach has to say, okay, we'll hold them for the rest of, because they're right there. I mean, they're only 5 points out of a Champions League spot and a couple, 3 points out of a European spot. They could hold him for the rest of the year, but he's not signing a contract, so he's going to go for free. Or you could sell him to Manchester United for like $8 million. It's something cheap. You're going to get something for him. So you have to decide what, he's their leading scorer. You got to decide whether you want to get money for him right now. Because these leagues, look, I mean, when's the last time you watched a Bundesliga game? Where are the games? They're on ESPN Plus, right? So ESPN Plus has games. And they used to be on Fox. Nobody cared. Fox lost that thing.
They were on the sports for a while.
Yeah, nobody watches. What's that?
Up here, Bundesliga is like the only league you can find on cable television. Can't find Liga. You can't find La Liga. Definitely can't find Premier League. But with my cable package, I get Bundesliga.
Yeah, because those leagues know they could get money for like their rights. They were on Fox. Fox didn't want to keep them. ESPN took them here, so they're on ESPN Plus here. But on Saturday mornings, if I had the choice, the only good thing about the Bundesliga is they start at 9:30, so like there's a half-hour window. So like you start watching the game, maybe you keep it on. But at 10 o'clock, I'm not watching a Bundesliga game, man. I'm watching a Premier League game. I'm not. There's no way. And then if there's bad, there's not enough Premier League games that are good, I'll watch a championship game. So it's. I don't know. They can't keep their players, and if they're like a super talented player like Freiburg, if they got any German guys, where they're going. They're going to Bayern Munich. So
I was actually going to say, Freiburg's another team where we didn't get to see much of him because obviously Germany was eliminated in the group stage, and this guy wasn't even a starter in the first 2 matches, but. I wouldn't be surprised if somebody came knocking for Füllkrug because a lot of teams need a number 9. And this guy, man, he really, in the few flashes for Germany, he showed he's got some talent. And obviously he's Freiburg's goal scorer. So I think, you might see a team come knocking for Füllkrug.
Yeah, I think that's probably right.
Is this time of the year, just to equate it, would it be fair to say that this time of the year in soccer is equivalent to the Major League Baseball trade deadline, where you take a look at Sean, you just mentioned about the fact that, the guy can walk or they can get somebody for him. That happens all the time in baseball because you'll sit there and go, all right, this guy's a free agent at the end of the year. Can I get somebody to trade me and get me some pieces because I'm not going to sign him. I know he's going somewhere else.
Yeah, I mean, I think that happens. I mean, there's the pre-contracts now. I mean, a lot of these teams, well, like Manchester United needs a 9 now. But like a lot of these teams will say, look, just stay where you are and we'll give you a huge, we'll give you, instead of paying the, $8 million fee to Mönchengladbach, we'll give you the $8 million. If you stay where you are and sign a pre-contract for next year and we can get you on a free, we'll give you the $8 million, or we'll give you $5 million or something like that. So these players are like, all right, like what the hell? It's only 4 more months. But for someone like Thuram, that United needs a 9 right now. Maybe it's worth going. But yeah, you have to. That happens in the Premier League a lot. These if you're gonna stay, are you gonna risk staying?
You could risk injury as well.
Yeah. You're gonna, if you're a guy and you're on, Brentford, and you're gonna, Ivan Toney, although he's going to be suspended, but if you're Ivan Toney and your contract's running down, I mean, do you does Brentford keep him to thing and let him walk for free, and but know he's going to keep him in the Premier League for this year? Do they try to get something for him now? There's a lot of different things that go into it. So, but yeah, it happens.
Does it happen like a situation where you've got a guy with a bad contract and you're trying to shop him around?
Oh yeah, I mean, it's what happened with Ronaldo. I mean,
sometimes it doesn't work.
Oh, right,
hey,
true.
Just like it just the thing with Ronaldo was like, I mean, he's just being such a jerk off that like they were going to get him on. They basically, as soon as he did that, I mean, the best thing was Ten Hag played it perfectly. They let him do that thing, and then they had him on breach of contract. So like at that point now, like since he's bashing the club, you say, you know what, like because he wanted to leave, but like they would have had to pay him the rest of the. But as soon as he does that, hey, we don't have to pay him now. His salary's off the books. We don't have to pay him a walk away fee and all this stuff. I mean, that's what happens with managers. You see that, with Antonio Conte, and Conte, he's done. They don't want to give him any money. I mean, he's already starting that thing, so he's going to walk. But sometimes they don't want these coaches to walk because, then they got to pay him money to walk away, and you're paying this guy to not coach. And most of those managers are going to just keep, they're on gardening leave or whatever. If I'm getting paid by Tottenham to not coach, I'm not going to go pick up another job somewhere. I'm going to wait. Go get a TV job somewhere, talk about the game, and then, when they're done paying you, then you come back. So
it's like any coach in, here in the United States, we have football coaches, you get buyouts, you've got, other managers and coaches, but mainly that's where you see a football coach in college gets a buyout where they'll fire him, but they still owe him 2 or 3 years on the contract. He'll go and do TV work for ESPN, and then when that when that money dries up, he goes back and gets another job.
Yeah, well, I think Matt Rule is a great example of that. Yeah, exactly. He got fired from the Panthers, but he went and took a college job right away because I guess he felt like he wouldn't be relevant in a few years when they were done paying him the money. But
right.
I would have taken the few years off. They're literally just paying you to sit at home. So,
well, it's like Sean Payton. He's sitting there going, "I'm tired of coaching, but I'm not. I'm just tired of coaching the New Orleans Saints."
Tired of the Saints.
So let me sit here and when the season's over and there's 4 or 5 coaches gone, let me just sit here and have my agent decide where we're going to go. And he's actually amassed a small army of assistant coaches.
Yeah. So you know what? I know what you guys think. The Broncos fired their obviously Hackett early to get a jump on it, but the Broncos isn't an organization that Sean Payton said he wants to go to. From what I see, Payton has his eyes set on it's the Chargers. So, Sean loves Brandon Staley. I know Sean loves Brandon Staley, but when they get rid of him, he wants that job. He wants the Cowboys job. And I think, there's a chance if the Cowboys have another wild card exit here, let's say they don't end up winning the division if the Eagles win that last game. Like, you got to start thinking, maybe we get rid of Mike McCarthy and bring in Sean Payton, because obviously that's the dream coach. And then my Cardinals is also a maybe, because now Cliff Kingsbury's job is really up in the air. But what I'm starting to hear now is the Broncos are trying to get Jim Harbaugh to coach.
That's nuts.
I heard the Colts for Harbaugh.
He's up for a lot of jobs.
Yeah, he can't stay at Michigan at this point now. You're never going to win. If you didn't win, you couldn't even get to the final with this team. So look, it's not happening. Go to the pros, make it time.
Yeah, well, he's making $8 million a year at Michigan. So,
Foxy, I see Foxy checking in. Yeah, my computer just started. My computer just decided to do an update in the middle of the show.
That's love nice. That. Love the unannounced updates.
Thank you, Microsoft.
Yeah, I didn't even understand what was going on. I just wanted, Foxy, Emery would get a result. I just wanted to see, who Foxy thought would be the next manager to go. Is it going to be Conti? Is it going to be Frank Lampard? Is it going to be David Moyes? Southampton already got rid of their coach. Wolves did. Nottingham Forest obviously just signed that guy for a long-term contract. Who's the next guy to go? Emery already got rid. Aston Villa's up the table here. So who's the next coach to go? Is it Graham Potter? It could be interesting. So I don't know if Foxy's still watching, but Brian Rowe, Rutgers +8 in money line tonight versus Purdue. Brian's soon to be doing his own show here for making some picks and stuff like that. So
college basketball guy, I see.
Yeah. What was it he asked about Purdue tonight?
He likes Rutgers +8 and money line tonight versus Purdue. He likes Rutgers to beat Purdue outright. I don't know about that.
I mean, it's in Purdue, so tough. But I mean, I agree. I agree with him. I think Rutgers is a great team, and if they were at home, they probably have a chance to win that one. But I mean, the eight's a lot of points. Eight's a lot of points for a good Rutgers team.
Actually, Purdue is obviously not a bad team either.
Obviously, the top 5 team in the country.
Yeah,
right now.
Having used to do Big Ten games, it's tough to beat Purdue at Purdue even when Purdue's bad. Which is not to say that taking the points is not a bad idea. I'm just saying winning outright. That's not. I kind of shy away from that personally.
Yeah, like if Rutgers was at home, I would be all over that. But on the road here, I'm with you. Like it's like okay, and he's seeing now, I guess smaller on the money line, bigger on the spread. But I would agree with that. 8 points is a lot. I know this Purdue team is good, but so is Rutgers, and I think they always come to play. Obviously in their conference, the Purdues, the Indianas, they're going to come to play tonight. So
I mean, they're psyched out. I get it, but man, that's a lot of stuff to
Purdue's 13-0 right now, 7-0 at home. Rutgers is 9-4. They're 0-2 on the road. They haven't won a road game this year. They haven't been great on the road of late. I know they've been playing well, but they're not a very good road team in the Big Ten. So
they want to go into Purdue and beat them.
Yeah,
that's their first win of the season.
Line is higher because John Hubbard Jr. buzzer beater. But yeah, so you can see more of Brian shortly as soon as he figures out his schedule there for his new job. We'll have him on there talking about.
Looking forward to it. It's he's I don't know. College basketball is tough, and beating Purdue at Purdue is always a challenge. But can it be done? Of course, it can be done. We just have to see. But that's a tough one. I watched a bit of UCLA and Washington yesterday, and UCLA looked pretty impressive. They won that game by I think it's like 20-some points, and it was on the floor in Seattle. So definitely they've got UCLA's playing some good basketball at this point in time. most conferences now are in the middle of their conference season. It starts in January, and so we see a lot of conference games. What do you think, Sean, of your team, the Tar Heels?
You know what? I to be honest, I don't really. They made a final as an 8 seed last year.
Mhm.
They didn't turn it on until February. So I don't know. They just. I'm not really worried, to be honest, at this point. I mean, when you look at their record, and hold on, let me pull this up. Standings. I know they're 9-5, but then you look at
Well, they played a pretty good schedule.
yeah. Look, I'm not real worried about them. I was just trying to. I forget what that league is that Gonzaga plays in, West Coast.
Yeah, the West Coast Athletics.
Yeah,
Wow.
Gonzaga's 12-3. It's whatever. I mean, they
Normally, St. Mary's is their biggest problem out there.
yeah, St. Mary's, BYU's playing well on the West Coast. They're in the West Coast Conference now. So yeah, I'm not. If they were struggling last year and turned it on. I just think this year sometimes for teams like that, it's not about the regular season. It's just about
It's about getting to the
yeah. Look, I mean, obviously you don't want to be an 8 seed again. I mean, you want to be higher seed, but I think at some point if they turn it on, they got to get everybody back healthy. They got to be healthy at going into the tournament. But I'm not worried at this point.
And what do you guys think of the possibility of Gonzaga's getting courted by both the Big 12 and the Pac-12 for basketball only. That's a pretty good sized payday for a small school in Eastern Washington.
I think you should be able to. I think you should have to go in for everything, though. I don't understand this. I know Notre Dame does that for all sports except for football, but I think if you're gonna go, you got to go. You got to go for soccer. You got to go for swimming. You got to go for water polo, whatever it is. So, but I think they should probably go to the Pac-12. I mean, it makes a lot of sense, obviously. But.
Yeah, I think they would be. If you're in the Big 12, logistically it doesn't make any sense. I mean, you're just not close to anybody. And,
That's right.
So yeah, I think they would stay there. It's a small school, so I mean I get it. If you look at there's 2 members, ironically, of the Big Ten, who, in one case, the University of Chicago was a founding member of the Big Ten. They ceased to play football and basketball at a high level in the 1940s. So, but they're still a member of the Big Ten. And when Maryland came into the Big Ten, they carved out an associate membership for Johns Hopkins, so that they could have Johns Hopkins in the conference for lacrosse. Now, Notre Dame is in the conference for hockey, so it's kind of a mishmash of how they do that. So,
Yeah.
It's whatever they need that benefits, because frankly, not every team in the Big Ten plays lacrosse or hockey, but to get because Notre Dame was playing in a conference that had Denver in it, so they now play against Wisconsin and Michigan, who they played anyway. From a standpoint of just out of conference games. But now that conferences to the NCAA are so important, they went that route. So I could see Gonzaga in the Pac-12. I think that would make a lot of sense. Both for dollars and cents. Plus, it would they're going to lose UCLA from a premier program standpoint. It's always good to have some banner team. I'd also, frankly, if I were I would jump on San Diego State and also because they could put all of their sports in there, and they have a decent football team, not a great one, but they do have a good basketball player. Amadeus, do you have a college basketball team that you like, or a college basketball situation where you pay attention to them, or is that just not something on your radar?
I don't have like a specific team I cheer for. I'm really impartial to all of them because
You're Switzerland. Yes.
Yeah, I kind of like I watch for handicapping purposes. I don't really cheer for a specific team in college basketball, but I do say I lean heavily towards the Big Ten and the Big East teams a lot more. I tend to watch those teams, those games.
It's a shame that the Big East is not playing to the level that they used to.
Oh, hey, UConn is but
UConn,
yeah, everybody else.
I let that one. I blew that one. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I agree. Everybody else, there's some good teams in there, but like even when they're like obviously Providence was great last year, but when push comes to shove.
Well, the Hoyas at Georgetown haven't been good since Big John was coaching.
Oh yeah, they were weren't they? I think they went winless in conference play last year.
Yeah, they did.
Absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah, terrible.
Their coach is what, Patrick Ewing, right?
Yep.
Well, yeah. The theory, there's no Dion theory in this in the Georgetown situation, but just because you have a star head coach doesn't mean that you're going to get the players. As a matter of fact, he's recruited people that after he recruited them went in the transfer portal.
Yeah, that's not good.
That does tell you something that you don't want to hear about your team.
I just wanted to say goodbye. I got to jump on a tutoring call here, so I wanted to say goodbye for everybody for the show here today, and we'll see you later tomorrow. And if you got any questions, obviously just make sure you call me or message me on Twitter, message Amadeus and stuff like that.
Well, have a good day.
Thank you.
Have a good one, man.
And enjoy yourself. So Amadeus, you're still here, right?
Oh yeah.
All right. Well, let's in this particular case, let me just check something real quick. Okay. All right. So we're at 57 minutes in. Do we have any more questions from the class here that we want to touch on? Brian. Hey, Brian. Michigan killed Maryland yesterday in basketball team. Should have, but the football team didn't. Brian, I would agree that the Big Ten has a higher quality basketball team, basketball programs than does the Big East now. I think when 1979, when they established the Big East Conference and had all of those amazing coaches that they had, that was this heyday of the Big East. And Big Ten has always had it's funny, John Thompson used to have a line. I'm sorry, it wasn't John Thompson's line either. It was Rick Pitino's line. And Pitino coached at Providence at that time. And Pitino's line was, when you play Big East basketball, no blood, no foul. Basically, they played street ball. All of these teams were from big cities, and they had these guys who played on playgrounds. It didn't matter to them. You can bang me all day long. I'm not gonna, unless you knock me down, I'm not. It's not a foul. And just a joke that when they played the ACC, if they touched an ACC player, they were in trouble. They'd foul out. They'd get 5 fouls in the first 10 minutes. The Big Ten also is physical. I mean, they're not really finesse league like the Big East used to be, but they are very, very strong and very. They have good guard play, but they're really at their best up front. The forecourt with that group where you have the forwards and the centers usually are very, very powerful players, and usually that's where they get their stars. And yeah, there's good guard, but not. I think Big East might have a slight edge in the old days. They definitely had a slight edge in the guard play, but I would say that right now, Big Ten's good. I kind of give the edge to Big 12 in who's the best conference in college right now, because top to bottom they got some. You got Kansas, you got Baylor. I mean, you got some good basketball teams in the Big 12. But we'll know in March. And they'll let us know who.
Yeah. Well, what the defending champions from the Big 12, right? It was Baylor who won everything. No, sorry, Kansas who won everything. What am I saying? Baylor. Kansas who won everything.
Yeah, Brian, I would absolutely agree with you on the Mountain West. They definitely get overlooked. There's some good Colorado State out there, San Diego State. There's some good basketball teams out in the Mountain West. And you're right, they are. You know, the Mountain West in the Pac-12 both suffer from East Coast and Central time zone bias. People don't tend to see their games or care to look them up. But yeah, the games in Mountain West are fun. And they're competitive most of the time. I mean, even the bad teams are good. Yeah, Colorado State. I did forget Nevada. That's from me. Yeah, Colorado State. I did mention San Diego State. Yeah, and Nevada. Hell, even Montana isn't bad at times. So you got a bunch of them out there. So they don't. You're right. They don't get enough attention. Good line value. Chris King from Winners and Winers. Chris, if you like Mountain West basketball. Chris is all over Mountain West basketball, so he's somebody you should check out. He's a good guy and also knows a lot about college basketball in general, but definitely he's a big Mountain West guy from a wagering standpoint. Good value line, yeah, no, 100%. I agree.
Well, hey, if this Brian's going to be doing a show soon, I hope it's on college basketball because he's got a lot of knowledge to drop on the viewers here.
He's dropping knowledge. We like that. Let's see what else. Buzzer beater, Los Angeles. Okay, yeah, I was just looking up at the other parts of it. Yeah, yeah. So anyway, all right, Brian, we greatly appreciate it. And
that's good. I'll be checking out that college
dropping
basketball.
Some knowledge here. Dropping some knowledge.
Like I said, I watch Big Ten and Big East, but he clearly knows the entire landscape. So maybe
it's funny. I tend to tune in late to games, so I do get Mountain West games and I do get Pac-12 games.
Fourth quarter basketball. Even there's not 4 quarters in college.
Like 4 quarters, but it's there. Who do you like tonight in the game between Buffalo and?
Yeah, I gotta lean towards Cincinnati here. I think they've been one of the hottest teams in the NFL in this second half of the season. Everything's just coming together for them. They're getting healthier. Obviously, you got Mixon for the run game, Chase as for the wide receivers, and even that offensive line is really the key. Burrow has not been getting beaten up lately in their last few games, and this is a big one. Joe Burrow already came out and said the AFC runs through us. So, maybe Buffalo comes out with a chip on their shoulder. But the Cincinnati team, man, they already beat Kansas City. Like, they've shown they can win the big games. They made it to the Super Bowl last year, obviously. I think they're also playing with a chip on their shoulder because I heard a lot at the beginning of this year, just, Cincinnati, that was a fluke last year. They're not going to be the same team. I had them winning the AFC I had them winning the AFC North at the North.
They're in the East.
They're in the North. The Cincinnati I'm talking about.
Oh,
Cincinnati. Yeah. I had the Bengals winning the AFC North. I knew the Ravens were still going to be good, but I was like this team went to the Super Bowl last year. Why do people think they're just going to be like a one-time fad? They really are good. Like Joe Burrow he won a national championship at LSU. Like, this isn't just like, things went well and they got lucky. No, they have a solid group of players.
Well, and he also, how many guys win a national championship, Heisman Trophy, and gets to play football for your home team? he grew up about a half an hour, 45 minutes outside of Cincinnati. So, his only problem is having enough tickets on a Sunday to make sure that he covers all his friends and family. No, he's been fantastic, and they've added players. They added a better offensive line for him. Like you say, he's not getting whacked anymore, which is always a good thing.
Yeah.
So up and down the line, that's a good thing for them. Buffalo has been a little more inconsistent than you would hope or expect a Buffalo team to be. I mean, there's no reason for them to be that way, but they seem to find a way, and that's a little awkward. I mean, but Orchard Park, they're playing at home tonight, right?
No, I think isn't it
Is it in Cincinnati?
Yeah, it's in Cincinnati.
Okay.
So
Well, that makes it worse for Buffalo.
Yeah, that's what I mean. And like the Bengals, I think they had to play Kansas City at home, or they got to play Kansas City at home, and they won in that one. It's like, I don't know the way the NFL did the scheduling, but it's like they wanted it to run through Cincinnati for.
Well, yeah. I mean, I think in that case, you've got they call it the jungle, and they call it the jungle is the jungle for a reason. I would say Cleveland, Cincinnati, Pittsburgh, and the Ravens, that North Division, and that's old school football. They just beat the living crap out of each other.
Oh yeah.
And they don't like losing to each other. They don't like each other. The fan bases don't like each other, and so it makes for a really tough time. So even though Buffalo is not a member of that division, they play a physical brand of football, and we'll have to see how it plays out. But tonight should be fun to watch. But the jungle will be rocking. If I'm Buffalo, I need to score early.
Yeah, I love Josh Allen.
Yeah, who doesn't?
This guy, I love him. I love the whole Buffalo team. Obviously, a lot of Buffalo fans up here because that's where they gravitate to. You just go across the border and watch a game. But I feel like every time they have to face adversity where they're like down late in a game, Josh Allen's got this look on his face on the sideline like he's about to cry on Stephon Diggs' shoulder. And I don't get it. Like, you can't have that look. Like, I want him to succeed, but he's got to go out there and, win the game. You can't just be like, oh, we're down again with 2 minutes. Why does this keep happening to me? Stop making it happen. Go out there and stop making it happen yourself.
Well, there's did you ever see the movie with Keanu Reeves, The Replacements?
No, you were telling me, but I gotta catch it though. I love
there's a line. There's a line in there when Gene Hackman is the coach of the team, and he's looking at Keanu Reeves, and he says, quarterbacks want the ball. They want to win. And he goes, you've got to go out there and you've got to show everybody on this team that, quarterbacks want the ball because quarterbacks win. And so, give Josh Allen the ball and say, quarterbacks want to win. But, in fairness to Josh Allen, it's not ever been his fault that they've, fallen short. I mean, the guy's given 100%. Everybody makes mistakes, but I would, these Joe Burrow and Josh Allen, and they're two of the elite young quarterbacks in the league. So, it's fun to watch those two guys play when they're not playing against each other. But when they're playing against each other, that's even better.
Oh yeah.
So throw Mahomes in that and the whole routine. But man, that's in the immortal words of the late John Madden, this could be a slobber knocker tonight. I'm not even sure what that means, but
yeah, neither do I. But
Madden it must mean something. It's going to be fun. It'll be fun. And anything on the bowl games as we final thoughts on any of those games as well? USC, I think we agreed that if Caleb plays, then they're in good shape.
I hear
the SLING team is not to be slept on. I mean, they could, especially since USC doesn't play the kind of defense you would expect a team that good to play.
Well, that's what I mean, right? It's that Tulane defense. So I don't know. I've been hearing that Williams is trending towards not playing, and if he's not playing, then definitely just might as well take Tulane because
Well, in fairness to him, he should have played in the game against Utah. He got hurt, in the second quarter of that game, and it just got worse as the day went by. And it was like, nobody would have said a thing if he would have just, decided with the medical staff at SC to say, you know what, I'm hurt. Let's take a deep breath and let this go to our backup. But he didn't, and I'm wondering if he got more hurt in that game. So we'll have to see. But anywho, it's gonna be fun, that's for sure. And we'll see tomorrow. We'll have an opportunity to sit down and chat tomorrow about what exactly happened. But it's gonna be it should be a good game all the way around. Any final thoughts? Any wagering information you would like to pass on to our esteemed panel here?
Oh no, just if you're gonna bet the bowl games, make sure you check who's playing. That's all I'm gonna say. But especially that USC one, just make sure you check if Williams in, and even with these soccer matches, if you're gonna bet them, always check the lineups before.
I would also suggest that you check the weather.
Yeah, that too.
Southern California, they've had a lot of rain, so I'm wondering what the field is going to be like in Pasadena today. That's the Cotton Bowl's played in Jerry World, so you don't have to worry about that. That's all set.
Oh yeah.
But, I think that's going to be very interesting how that plays out today. But we'll see. I think we talked about Caleb and Cam Rising. I do think if Cam Rising plays well, if he's healthy, then that Utah game should be a cakewalk over Penn State. But I don't know if Cam Rising is there yet. So we'll have to check that one out as we do here. So all right, Amadeus, for Amadeus, who's been here the whole time, and hang on one second, I'm looking to get, there we go. All right, there you are. Okay, you were gone for a second.
Oh, what's up?
Yeah, but you're back. So anyway, we've had a lot of fun. We've covered a lot of ground. Soccer, football, 2 footballs. And we'll get into more tomorrow because tomorrow there'll be more games, soccer to be played. And the football bowl season, I think, will have come to an end. This has just been a wacky situation. Normally, you're so used to the Rose Bowl, and the Orange Bowl, and the Sugar Bowl being played on New Year's Day. And it's been a totally disjointed, week. And this actually happens to be, and sadly enough, this happens to be the last Rose Bowl where it will be a game between a Pac-12 team and a Big Ten team. After this, the Rose Bowl falls just like everybody else into the playoff picture, and so it will no longer just be either of those 2 teams. It could be 2 teams from anywhere in the country. So history tonight, this afternoon, in Pasadena. It's a beautiful stadium. It's a beautiful place. It's funny. It's in a neighborhood. So 110,000 people basically wander into somebody's neighborhood, and although there are people who make a lot of money for the entire year by parking the cars in their yard on your way to the stadium. So it's a beautiful place out there in the foothills of the San Gabriel Mountains. So 5 o'clock local time, we will see, 2 o'clock local time, 5 o'clock Eastern time. And that'll be after a whole slew of other games, the one being played in Tampa, which used to be called the Outback Bowl. I have no idea what they call it anymore. It's the Mississippi State game. And then, of course, we talked about the Citrus Bowl and about the Cotton Bowl. So plenty of, if you're a football fan, from noon until midnight, you're going to have plenty to watch today. Tomorrow you're going to be on your own because it's going to be soccer. And you get, the good news is with soccer, you're going to have the opportunity to watch something else at night because soccer will be over by the time that goes. One last question I have. We were ranking the different soccer leagues from around the world. Where does the MLS fall?
That's actually
it does fall. I have no idea.
That's actually a great question. It's a tough one for me because I would even put the Brazilian league a little higher than the MLS. It needs it when you have a league with no promotion and relegation, it's really it's really tough, right? I think they need that element of promotion and relegation because then teams can't tank. You have to give yourself a reason to stay in the league. With these Brazilian teams, we see a lot of a lot of the players. Obviously, the big names in Brazil are playing in Europe, but a lot of them choose to stay and play for local clubs in Brazil. The MLS right now is more of a league where they're getting stars, but they're getting stars on the tail end of their careers.
Right.
And I think that's something that needs to change before we consider it a top league in the world. But it's definitely growing. So I see a bright future for this MLS. Hopefully down the road some way, players will just want to come to the league and play in their prime years versus, I've given 20 years to Real Madrid or something. Now I'm almost 40 years old and I still want to play, but not but I can't play on a team as competitive. So let me go to the MLS.
Well, in some regard though, they've set themselves up. Meaning the MLS, have set themselves up to not spend the kind of money it takes to bring, a superstar like an Mbappe or somebody like that to the United States. There's just the way the league is set up. It's not set up for that, and that's probably the most interesting part of how the league is set up is that there's parity. The other thing that they've done, which I'm not sure was the wisest about the possible things, and that is they have expanded so quickly and so far that they're watering down the quality of the talent.
Yeah, you can't keep having expansions, right? At that point, if you want some of these USL teams to expand into the MLS, that's what you introduce relegation and promotion for, because then it gives these USL teams something to play for as well. They know, if we go and spend a bit of money, or if we just, our players are good enough, we can get into the MLS. This isn't something that's out of reach for us. Right now, there's a divide because there's absolutely no way a USL team can get in the MLS unless through expansion.
Yeah, and the I think the MLS, the USL, I think they have set themselves up to do exactly what you said. They are in big cities. They have franchises that would love to play, in the MLS. They all come to the MLS from the USL. So it would be and they've got every game is televised, whether you can stream it or you can watch it on ESPN3. And honestly, I think that it's just the kind of thing that a lot of people would love to. If the relegation part of it, I love the concept. If you're not going to spend money, then don't come to our building, right?
Exactly. How many times would the Pirates have been relegated by now?
They'd be in Class A league.
Yeah, it forces you to spend some money on the team if you're going to own it.
Well, and otherwise, and knowing the sports fans of Pittsburgh as I do, they would have pitchforks and be out there, chasing the owner down the street.
Like how Man United did with the Glazers.
Right. They would
chase them out.
I guess we could start using the term glazier.
They got glaziered. That's exactly what happened. They've been calling for so long to have them, and they finally, I guess, couldn't deal with the pitchforks.
Right. They're like, these guys are getting closer to us. Maybe we, they're showing up, and the Glaciers live down in South Florida. They have a place in Tampa, but they are predominantly That's where they grew up. So yeah, I think it definitely is something that they. Who knows, right? What's going to happen? Um, it's something, but the concept of relegation, I think that would be pretty cool. I think that would be because it's not done here, you know.
Yeah, definitely.
So why not do something a little different and see what happens, right? I mean, what do they got to lose?
Exactly.
And they just signed a nice deal with Apple, which on another day we'll talk about. The theory of the case was that now the deal they signed with Apple allows the MLS to put 15 games on Fox. ESPN took a pass. So I'm wondering if, from an ESPN standpoint, if that was just because they figured, well, wait a minute, I don't want to be second fiddle to Apple. I want to promote my own streaming service, and perhaps that's what spooked them away from it. But I do think that Donnie Garber loves the idea of expansion, but he's not too keen on what happens after you expand. And I mean, hell, the situation with regard to Beckham and his Miami team took years to get resolved. And but he literally was promised a franchise and didn't have a stadium or didn't have backing or didn't have an owner. It's like, okay, yeah, I get he's David Beckham, but for heaven's sakes, don't you have to do something?
Yeah.
So, and now they're talking about Messi getting that, the same kind of deal.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. It's I was there at the beginning and the end of the NASL, and there's a lot of parallels here between what they did right and wrong and what the MLS did right. The MLS is trying to use the Bundesliga as a guidepost, but I'm not so sure that's the league should have used as a guidepost.
Yeah.
Because they run that same. All the teams are technically under the management. I'm talking when I say management, I'm talking about marketing management of the league. So the league technically advises each team on what to do.
Yeah.
I don't think that's wise, but nobody called me and asked. So what's a mother to do?
Yeah. That's just MLS.
There you go. It's the MLS. Deal with it. Because we're not. So anyway, all right. Well, thanks for the conversation about the MLS, and we'll have a much bigger conversation tomorrow on everything because the MLS is going to start getting out there in the next couple of months, and we'll have plenty of time to talk about them, if not behind their backs, but in front of their backs. Maybe we'll get some of the management folks from the MLS on to talk with us. So we'll endeavor to do that. All right, my friend. For Amadeus and for myself, thanks for joining us this morning. Hope you had some fun. We did. And we shall return sometime tomorrow. Let's try 9 o'clock, which is basically where we always are.